Good evening, everyone, and a belated Happy New Year to you all. I know I've said this in videos that I've put out this week. Happy New Year. I think I said that in the Monday video, but I recorded those videos weeks ago. It felt a bit weird actually saying Happy New Year kind of towards the end of November when I did that solo analysis video on Monday, but. This is the first time in person to you all. Welcome back to the live stream for 2023. I'd love to say there's going to be lots and lots of exciting new things on the channel this year, but there isn't. It's just going to be business as usual, I'm afraid. Take it or leave it. Anyway, excuse me, chaps. I've just poured the first beer of the new year. And for once, that genuinely is the first beer of the week. I haven't had a beer since New Year, since New Year's Day, I think it was. And then I am going to try and cut down on the midweek boozing. We'll see how that goes. Somebody once did suggest I do dry January, but that ain't going to happen. Anyway. Nice to see you all back. Let's see who's in the chat. Let's go and scroll up and see who was first in. Continue in the time-honoured custom. I see we've got Balder first in today. Well done, mate. Then we've got Edwin Toonan, and then Johnny Random, and Vincent Brennan's in as well. Cowtown Jones and the Hillbilly Trainwreck. Yes, what a great name. He's in, and there's Anton and Gordo Canuck, and we got Grandpa Joe. Wishing John, family, and Dougal all a happy new year. Thank you, mate. Same to you. There's Michael Palmer. Has just sold his 2009 PRS Custom 24 I Can Eat Tonight. Yeah, well, I've just sold a guitar as well, actually. Literally, I've just been about half an hour before the live stream began. I just finished boxing it all up, and it's getting picked up by the courier on Monday. Anybody got any guesses which guitar I've sold? We'll come back to that. Then we've got Craig Stamen. How are you, mate? And there's Terry Day and Dave Lewis asking, did any of you get anything special for Christmas, or have you waited till the January sales? Well, when you're a gentleman of a certain age, you kind of, well, I certainly do. I rely on Christmas to replenish my sock drawer, my various undergarments and stuff like that. That's because I don't buy those things. I just wait until Christmas. Couple of nice bottles of the Highland Spirit came my way, and to be honest with you, Christmas for me was just more about the time off than anything else. Then who else we got in? We got Peter Collins, and let's have a look. Scrolling down, we got David James and Paul Trainer, PFY Guitars, and then who else is new in? We've got John Ross and Chip Young. There you both are. And Mike Hurley and Jeff C. and Reeled In 58. You're all in. There's who else we got in? Scroll down a bit. We've got David Evans. Nice to see you, mate. Hope it's all going well for you. And Sometimes Dim Never Thin is in. So is James Hunt. Greetings from dreary Dagenham. Never been there, mate, but, I hope you're just referring to the weather. Then we got Michael Purcell and Malcolm Spillett, and David Collins and Chris Otterwell, and who else we got? Lawrence Hastings, Deco Dude, and have I said Chip Young? I just have if I hadn't. Then we've got Tom B and Brad Matthews and 60s Man, and there's Jimmy James and Big Bucky. And who else we got? Ian Clark. Nice to see you, mate. And let's scroll down a bit further. Who else we got in? Thomas Mulvaney. And let's have a look, see who else is there. It's just have a look. Stratboy 999 and John Channing. And there's Colin Falcon. and Paul Trainer, the resident bass player. Graham Campbell's in as well, and so is Craig Peterson, and DJ WRF is in. Theme tunes. Took me a moment, that one, mate. Let's have a look. Hi, everyone. Hope you had a cool Yule and all that. John, glad to see you're a fan of lace pickups. Bought a Fender Plus in 1984. It's awesome as ever. Yeah, I do like those lace sensor pickups. I know they're not to everyone's taste, but I like them. What can I tell you? There's Amadeus, and Chaos Music is in as well. Gear View Mirror and Bob Contreras. Nice to see you, Bob. And who else we got? We've got Gear View Mirror, Steve Hale, Jason Carter, the Essex Cat, Bass at Night, and who else we got? Ben Allmark is there, Stephen Hedger, and Peter S. And let's Bogart Holbeast, Ronnie Deakin, Amadeus. Have I said you already, mate? Apologies if I have. And Triple Distilled, Nick Pilson, and Murray Music, and who's James Falconer, and William Forrest, and Uli Viegel. Is it Weigel or Viegel? I'm going to say Viegel. And no, Ian, it's not the H7 that's gone. No, it's another one that's gone. It's not Blondie. No. RF has got it right. Yes, I've got rid of the headless guitar. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. We've got Peter Shields in, and Cylon Hybrid, and Jacob Phillips. And who else we got? Savvy 64, Sledge 1960, Peter Nicholson, and Jason Carter, Rent to Kill, Currybum Jenkins, Robert Galbraith, George Wall. It's filling up faster than I can keep up. And James Galpin, and I'm Not Creative, and I think that is pretty much it. Old Uncle Tom Cobley and all. 158 of you coming to join me on a Friday evening for a beer. It's Friday evening here, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. I hope you can kind of have a beer at some point, just have a sneaky one. It's Friday. Anyway, excuse me, after all that talking, I need a wee bit of a lubrication. In case anyone's interested, somebody always asks, this evening the stream of verbal diarrhea will be brought to you courtesy of Halston Pills, because I've been to Morrison's today, and they're the only supermarket around here that stock that. I really do like that beer. I don't know about anyone else, but I've drunk Halston Pills for years, but it was always in the little bottles. And it was always that beer that you used to kind of go on to at the end of the evening when you've had, kind of a belly full of beer and your taste buds are knackered, but you're feeling a bit bloated and you don't want another pint. So you get a bottle of Halston Pills in the small bottle just to have something to drink. And I've never really can honestly say that until recently that I've tasted it properly. And it's a really nice drop of beer, I have to say. Anyway. That's by the by. Let me tell you what's coming up on the channel this week before we go any further. We'll get into why I've got rid of the headless guitar. Hello, Time Prophet. How are you, mate? As I mentioned earlier, I do record my videos kind of weeks and weeks in advance, and that means it has the advantage that I can sort of plan the videos a little bit, and I'm not kind of rushing to get a video finished because it's got to be uploaded that day, sort of thing. But one disadvantage that it has is that it makes it difficult to do a quick sort of reaction when events happen. And as I'm sure you're aware, towards the end of last year, we lost a great talent from the guitar world, Mr. Wilco Johnson. And as soon as I heard the news that we'd lost Wilco, I started putting together my own little tribute to Wilco. And that is what is coming up on Sunday. That is the Sunday video this week, my little Wilco Johnson tribute. Then on Monday, a solo analysis. As I said, there's nothing fresh and exciting and different about this year's content that I'm putting out. I'm just going to stick to the formula that I've sort of stumbled across, which is Mondays I do a solo analysis, Tuesdays top 5, Wednesdays are a viewer's question video, Thursdays is usually some kind of gear-related video, an unboxing or a review of some kind. Fridays, the live stream, and Sundays, it's just me finding an excuse to have a jam. So, yes, that means Monday will be a solo analysis video, and the solo in question, well, think of a kind of a baroque-sounding waltz tune with a jazz-flavoured guitar solo from the 1980s by a punk band. Yes, that is a particularly curious Venn diagram, isn't it? So let's run that by you again. A baroque-sounding waltz with, what did I say? Yeah, baroque-sounding waltz with a jazz guitar solo from the 80s with by a well-renowned punk band. Can anyone think what that solo might be? I promise you, somebody will get it, and somebody will know it. Triple Distilled is saying, are you going to do the Wilco Johnson moves, John? He was pretty mobile. I'm not taking the tribute that far, mate. No. I just kind of sit in my chair and bash away on a Telecaster in hopefully a suitably raucous way. So yes, a few of who got it first. No, Johnny Random, it wasn't 10-pole Tudor, but I see. I think it was Theme Tunes who got it. Golden Brown, I reckon the solo. It is indeed Golden Brown. It's a solo I've wanted to do for years and years and years, and sort of got close to it in one band I was in. When was it? Be the late 80s at some point, but I never quite worked it out properly, and I just sort of blagged my way through it, but I've done a proper version of it this time. So that is Monday's video. The top 5 list on Tuesday. It's part of a two-parter. It's kind of about being in a band, and on Tuesday's video we're going to be talking about 5 things that I miss about being a gigging working musician, going out and getting up on my hind legs in front of an audience and suffering the slings and arrows of heckling and audience kind of, rejection and whatever. So, yeah, it's 5 things I miss about being in a band on Tuesday. That is that video. Then on Wednesday, it's another viewer's question. I got a question from a chap, can't remember his name, but you'll find out in the video when we watch it. But basically, chap emailed me and asked me if what I do to warm up. What is my warm up routine? Because I come up here, usually sit in this chair by about 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. most mornings, and then just start playing the guitar, talking about the guitar, tabbing out guitar solos, recording the guitar, basically doing lots of stuff with the guitar. So a warm-up routine is kind of important for me. So basically, I'm just showing you my warm-up routine on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we are basically comparing overdrives. You may well recall that I was quite taken with this little pedal when I first got it, the Behringer Vintage Tube Overdrive. Essentially, if you want a tube screamer, don't buy a tube screamer. Kind of buy one of these, and then you'll be thinking, what's that big lump of, that big bulge in my pocket? Oh, yes, it's the £100 that I didn't have to spend on buying an Ibanez tube screamer or whatever the cost. These pedals are fantastic. So my latest favourite overdrive pedal is the new X Horseman, which I'm very, very taken with. And so we're sort of doing a comparison between the Tube Screamer clone by Behringer and the clone by NewX, and we're also going to factor into the mix as well the built-in overdrive channel on the Marshall DSL-1. Basically, same piece of music played 3 times through with different overdrive tones, and seeing which one is the best. And you might, or possibly not, be surprised by the results. Jason Carter saying, I have that very pedal. Time Profit, Podgo has a tube screamer built in. Yeah, indeed. Oh, I see we've got Mr. Hoggett in. How are you, Steve? Nice to see you. What else have I missed while I've been blethering on like that? Okay. Yes. Basically, bald as this. I think Wilco bust those moves when he was getting his hair cut. Yes. Anyway, yes. So that's what's coming up on the channel this week. Now then, I have sold the ERT GW2 Pro guitar. Why have I sold it? It's a fantastic guitar, and I can't rule out more ERT guitars coming this way because basically I want to check out the brand a little bit more and find out more about what they're about. There's loads of things I want to get my hands on and check them out. But well, you know, that's possibly going to have to wait. I'll tell you why in a moment. But yeah, somebody basically just got in touch with me and said that he was really, really taken with the GW2 Pro. Couldn't find one anywhere. Would I be willing to sell mine? And we basically, there's a trade involved. There's another guitar coming in my direction as part exchange, and there's a cash adjustment happening. And you know, I'm very, very happy with the way it's kind of panned out. I've ended up just ahead, just a little bit by a short head, I guess. You know, it's basically going to a new home. You will have noticed that it hasn't featured in many videos. It's a beautiful, beautiful guitar to play. But the reason I haven't played it in many videos is because there are just too many comments under those videos telling me about how ugly the guitar is. Not that I'm sensitive to that kind of thing, but that it seems to detract from whatever the content of the video is that I'm putting forth. You know, most of the comments, or not most, but a lot of the comments are all about, oh, I hate the ugly guitar, you know, whereas I'd much rather people commented about, you know, the actual solo or the lesson or something that I'm trying to get across. So anyway, it wasn't getting played very much. Somebody made me a good offer that I was happy with, and it is currently boxed up there and waiting for the courier to come and pick it up on Monday. Now then, yesterday was a big day for me. Yesterday was the day that I filled in my tax return, and you know, you click submit, and then it takes you to the page where they tell you how much you have to pay, and it was a healthy sum. I'll tell you that much. You could buy a very, very, very nice guitar with the amount that Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs want off me this year. No, it's His Majesty's Revenue and Customs now, isn't it? You know, I suppose, though, you know, if you want, you know, world-class public services and, you know, government and the machinery of state being run by geniuses and experts, then that kind of thing doesn't come cheap. That was sarcasm, by the way. Anyway, yes, so long and the short of it is there's going to be a few purchases coming, but, you know, they're going to have to wait a little while until, you know, I've paid the tax man. But, you know, there we go. Anton's saying, rest assured you're helping to pay the politicians meagre salaries, John. Yes, indeed. That's, you know, poor darlings, you know, they're struggling by on, what is it, 80 odd grand a year plus expenses, including, you know, getting a second home paid for. Indeed. Anyway, this is not going to this is not going to go into a political live stream because it's such an easy topic to fall out over. I'm just going to, I'm going to pay me taxes. It's what my dad always used to say when he cracked open a can of beer. You know, the amount of duty they put on a can of beer. It's, you know, this is me paying my taxes. Anyway, what was I going to talk about then? Oh, yes, purchases that are going to be coming up. There is a chap who is in the chat tonight. Well, a couple of chaps in the chat tonight. The fact that I can still say that means I haven't had enough beer. Oh, by the way, flake, everyone. Indeed, I'm out of practice, as you can tell. Who have pieces of equipment that I am very, very interested in buying. And so I'm just going to have to do a little bit of shuffling around and what have you. But amongst those pieces of equipment that I'm going to be buying at some point, hopefully, if the chaps in the chat can be patient enough, there is going to be, definitely going to be getting myself one of those Thomas Blue guitar amps. I was absolutely blown away by the one of those that I borrowed off again another chap who was in the chat tonight, Mr. Craig Stamen. Thank you, Craig. That little amp was a absolute eye opener, and it's one of those things now. Like, I can't imagine not having one. So that's going to be. That's going to be kind of getting purchased. And again, the itch that I just have to scratch is one of those Epiphone 59 Les Pauls. And I don't know if he wants me to reveal who he is, but there's a gentleman in the chat who I've been having a bit of an email back and forth with over one of those as well. What I will do, obviously, is because I've got a Gibson Les Paul. It's kind of, I've got the Gibson Les Paul Tribute, which is the sort of bottom end of the Gibson range, and it just strikes me as being it's probably been done before. In fact, I'm certain it has, but I haven't done it, is the point, and I want to do it for myself. A comparison between something that is at the top of the Epiphone range with something that's at the bottom of the Gibson range, and to see how they compare. And, you know, perhaps one of them will stay and one of them will go. We shall see. Oh, thank you very much, Craig. Saying, you're welcome. Glad you enjoyed the amp. It was a great video. Well, thank you very much for your kind words, mate. Yeah, you need a strong back for a Les Paul. Not mine, you don't. Mine is, hang on a second. I can tell you what mine weighs. Let me get the old luggage scales and let me get the Les Paul, and we shall just see what this one weighs. Now, this is, as I say, the Les Paul Tribute. This has the weight relief thing going on, and let's just wait for the scales to zero, and there we go. Let's see what this weighs. 3.7 kilos. So what is that in old money? I don't know. These scales only do kilos. So 3.7 kilos, roughly doubling that. That's what, 7 and a bit pounds. So that's not a massive, massively heavy guitar. It feels substantial, but it doesn't feel, you know, like a ridiculous boat anchor. Michael Broadhead, you've never done a vid about your favourite song lyrics. Do you have a top rock and roll poet? I kind of did a video not that long ago about my favourite story songs. But you're right, which was kind of about the lyrics, but that might be a good one to do. Let me write that down. Favourite song lyrics. In terms of my favourite rock poet, I'm afraid it's probably a guy you might not have ever heard of. It's a chap called Henry Priestman. If you're not familiar with him, he used to be in a band in the 80s called The Christians. You might remember they had a couple of hits, Forgotten Town and Ideal World were the two big hits. And then they just seemed to peter out and vanish without a trace. But he does, he's got an album, I think it was from about 2008, this album called The Chronicles of Modern Life. And just some of the lyric writing on there is just sublime, fantastic, utterly utterly fantastic. So certainly check that out. The Chronicles of Modern Life by Henry Priestman. And I saw somebody, £8.15. Thank you very much, PFY Guitars. Let me scroll back up. What are you saying, Stuart Young? Did you see Paul David's blind guitar strings shootout? The winner was Roto, who, as we know, are Legacy and a different rapper. So you were bang on the money. I didn't see that, mainly because, Christmas and everything. I didn't get really a chance to watch much YouTube over Christmas because it was family time and it was kind of Netflix and all of that kind of stuff. Watch the new Knives Out movie if anybody's seen that on Netflix. The Daniel Craig playing the sort of kind of southern drawl kind of version of Hercule Poirot. Knives Out, Glass Onion. It's a entertaining enough yarn, I suppose. Sort of comedy, drama, mystery kind of murder thing. Not a bad way to spend, a few hours with a few beers and a few friends on over Christmas. So it was that kind of stuff we were watching over Christmas. And since I started again on Monday this week, that's when, I kind of Monday morning, 2nd of January, hit the ground running and, just kind of get back into the swing of things. And I've been tabbing solos out and been making videos and I've been doing lessons and, 8 o'clock in the morning through to like 8, 9 o'clock on the night and just and then just veg out in front of an old episode of Salvage Hunters or Wheeler Dealers or something while I have a beer and then just kind of go to bed and then next day rinse and repeat, really. Yeah, Jimmy James, thank you for mentioning that, mate. This happens usually every January. Some people who are very generous, like Jimmy there, pay over the odds for my Patreon content. As you know, it's $3 or £2.50 a month. But some chaps, like Jimmy, kind of put a little bit extra on top, a gratuity, call it what you will. And set that up as a regular amount that they pay every month. And for some people, some years, when January the January thing kind of kicks in, it just resets to the minimum amount. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, we're living in kind of hard times at the moment. Money is tight for everyone. So if you need to reduce your Patreon contribution, if you're one of my Patreons, if you need to reduce it down to the minimum amount, or if you just need to take a few months off, then that is absolutely, fine by me. You don't owe me that money. I'm grateful when you give it to me. Oh, Paul Trainer, thank you so much, mate. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you. But if Patreon has reduced you down to the minimum amount and it wasn't something that you intended to happen, then go and check. And if you want to reset it back to what it was, then go and reset it back to what it was. I just said I'd flag that up on the live stream when Jimmy kind of brought it to my attention. Let's have a look and see what else we've got in the chat. Rent to Kill is saying, how is Dougal? Dougal is, he's got his little hooligan head on today, it has to be said. He has this penchant for slippers and socks and anything that goes on your feet, basically. And he likes to basically just steal your footwear and run up the stairs. So usually you find yourself downstairs putting your shoes on to take him out for a walk, and then he nicks the other shoe and runs off upstairs with it. So you're running up the stairs with one shoe on. So that's the kind of frame of mind he's in at the moment. And so I think Jackie's got him in his crate downstairs, I went to the pet shop today and spent 40 quid on him. Can you believe it? 40 quid I spent on the little bugger. But that's going to be, for treats that are going to last him a while. Things like delicious things like Bull's Pizzles and buffalo tails, and what else did I get him? Oh yeah, I got him some beef esophagus. Jason Carter, thank you. That will go to Zoe's place. You're a gentleman and a scholar. And all kinds of things like that. Basically, all the stuff that isn't even fit to go into a plum rose hot dog. That the abattoir then just say, well, let's sell it to the pet industry. So I went and bought him, kind of a big carrier bag full of that sort of stuff, and he's probably munching away on something absolutely unspeakable like that at the moment in his crate, and he can't even. He's not even getting any kebab tonight because we're not having kebab. We're having curry tonight. Otter's noses, indeed. Where are we? What we got? I see we got Triple X Paps in. How are you, mate? Is that a new bruise on your head? No, that on my head that you might be able to see. Where is it? It's difficult. No. One of the things I got for Christmas was a new razor, and it doesn't agree with me. Yes, me and Mach 3 don't get on. It's I'm going to have to rethink it a little bit, but it slices me like it gives me a head like an accident in a butcher's window. Charles is asking, have you ever tried Levinson blade guitar and the current Gordon Smith graduate range? Thank you so much, Charles, by the way. I played a Levinson. It was in the 90s at that point when Patrick Eggle had like a kind of a cross-pollination thing with blade guitars, and I played briefly. It was like a Strat style kind of thing that was like a collaboration between Blade and Eggle. And to be honest with you, I can't really remember much about it. But I remember that it was, a perfectly playable guitar. But that's another one of those brands that you seldom hear anything bad about, isn't it? Levinson Blade. And, they were quite the big thing. I remember in the 80s, it was like if you wanted, something that was like a Gibson, but with a trem and a bit posher than a Gibson and everything, basically something from a Gibson sort of lineage, then you bought yourself a PRS. And similarly, if you wanted something that was more boutique but Fender orientated, then you bought yourself a Levinson Blade. And, then they just seemed to kind of not be around very much, and it's only very recently that I'm seeing the name Levinson kind of getting mentioned a lot again at the moment. Then what was that there? Let's have a look. Let's take that. Someone was saying the Patrick Eggle New Yorker. There we go. Yes, I remember those very well, mate, because one of my students going back to, this will have been early to mid 2000s, maybe about 2005, let's say. One of my students owned a fledgling online guitar retail business and called Jackal's Guitars. I don't know if they're still around. And they got the rights to be the dealers for Patrick Eggle guitars, and there was a guitar show at Middlesbrough Town Hall, like a little mini micro kind of NAMM sort of thing. And I was demonstrating Patrick Eggle guitars at that particular show. Not only the guitars, but the amp as well. They did probably the best solid state amp that I've ever played through. It was, I definitely think seem to remember it was a solid state amp, but it was like a really, really kind of responsive, touch sensitive, single channel amp that behaved a lot like an AC30. It was that kind of deal. And then again, they were just another brand that you don't seem to hear much of nowadays. Now, that is a good question, Michael. Should a rhythm guitarist reduce volume when the lead comes in with a solo? A mixing problem I'm having at the moment. Well, bands that I've been in, the rhythm guitar player has never done that. And when I've been a rhythm guitar player in a band, whenever like, you know, you're in a two guitar band and it's the other guys turn to take a solo, I've never backed off my volume. What I would tend to do is I would have like a solo boost of some kind that I would use for when I was playing a solo. And then when I wasn't playing the solo, I wouldn't have that boost on. So I guess, you know, by virtue of the fact that I wasn't using my solo boost, I kind of was turning the volume down a little bit, but I certainly was. It was like, I only need that boost when I'm going to do a solo, and that boost can be a pedal or it can be a channel on your amp or something like that. You know, I mean, you know the way I tend to like to work things. I like a twin channel amp, the clean channel kind of absolutely dimed so that it's giving me a crunchy kind of power chord sound when the rhythm channel, as I think of it, is kind of with the guitar's volume full on, and then a clean, when I want a clean sound, I use the guitar's volume control. But I don't sort of, certainly when there's a guitar solo happening, I don't sort of dial my volume back because I don't need to, because you know, you know, it shouldn't be your natural kind of level for rhythm guitar shouldn't be louder than the level of whoever's taking the solo anyway, really. Let's have a look. Charles is saying Patrick Eggles have shot up in price in the last few years. Yeah, I remember when I did that gig at that little mini guitar show at Middlesbrough Town Hall. I remember, like, I was offered a really good deal on a Patrick Eggle New Yorker, and it was just so tempting because it was like a real proper boutique guitar for little more than, you know, a production guitar. It was, I think they were going for, I can't remember what they were going for, but I remember it was like at about, I was getting like about a 40% discount if I'd had, but I just didn't have the money for it that then. It's one of those kind of file that one under ones that got away. Beautiful guitar. So let's have a look. Yeah, Patrick Eggle Berlin model, very nice guitars, very PRS. Like they did have, there were some of them that had a bit of a dodgy trem on them, like a Wilkinson trem, that when you kind of move the tremolo arm to a certain position, it locked it and made it into a fixed bridge, which was fine in practice. But I've heard nothing but horror stories about what it's like, fine in theory rather, but I've heard nothing but horror stories about what it's like to use in practice, about it just not kind of working particularly well, and you end up with a guitar that just has absolutely awful tuning stability. I know a few people who've got those with that trem and they just block it off and use it as a fixed bridge guitar, or replace it with like a regular kind of a regular kind of Wilkinson trem. Ever played a Shergold Masquerader? Yes, indeed, I have. One of the original ones from the 70s. When I was at college in the early 80s, there was 3 or 4 of us lads living in the halls of residence who were into guitar. I had what did I have at the time? I think I still had my Satellite Les Paul copy that had sprouted a pair of DiMarzios by then. And you know, there was another guy there who had the first real Fender that I actually played when I borrowed it. It wasn't a Strat, it was a Fender Music Master that was absolutely knackered. And again, he'd hacked a DiMarzio Super Distortion into the back end of it. And one of the other guys there had a Shergold Masquerader. And I remember it being a big, chunky beast of a guitar. It felt like it had been built in a tractor factory, like really sort of agricultural engineering to it. But, it's probably how they say that, come the nuclear holocaust, there'll be cockroaches and Keith Richards left alive. Well, there'll be cockroaches, Keith Richards, and a Shergold Masquerader, because the thing was absolutely bulletproof, I imagine. Any experience with Duesenberg guitars? I'm a Gibson fanboy, but picked up a second-hand doozy TV Star Player. No effort, and it's now far away my number one. I haven't. Have I played a Duesenberg? I don't think I have, actually. But again, another one of those brands that you hear nothing but good stuff with them. Steve Cassidy, yes. Any experience with the Phoenix by Young Chang guitars? I have indeed. I used to own one. I had one of their Telecaster copies way back in the 90s, and it was an absolute belter of a guitar. Absolutely fantastic. And it was round about that sort of period when, the Yamaha Pacifica, the 112 had come out. And, the guitar industry was sort of changing, and budget guitars were starting to get, kind of good to the point where you could use them professionally. And, a few of my students back then, because I've been doing this a long time now, 31 years it'll be, 32 years. Yeah, I first put an ad in the paper as a guitar teacher back in 1991, and kind of made it all official in 92. So 32 years. And, back in the sort of 92, 93 period, I remember definitely those Phoenix guitars and being like really, really impressed with them. Anyways, excuse me, chaps. I needs more beer. Let's just keep an eye on the chat while I'm pouring this. Let's try and get it. Oh, this is a bit lively tonight, I'm afraid. We're getting, oh dear me, everybody get ready to type flake. This is absolutely appalling. There we go. I blame the fact that over Christmas I was on Theakston's best bitter from a keg, so I've forgotten how to pour from a can. Are we going to spill? I think we just about got it in. No, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. There we go. There we go. Oh dear, flake. Eric Crawford been playing since 1978. So have I, mate. I can tell you the exact day in 1978 when I got my first guitar. I'd wanted a guitar. I wanted to learn to play the guitar, and I decided I was going to get one, and sent off for it out of me mother's catalogue, the ubiquitous K steel string student acoustic with an action like an egg slicer, and it was out of stock, and it kept, is it coming today? Oh, is it coming next week? When's it coming? And it actually turned up on my first day back at school, after the summer holidays in 1978, that big long summer holiday. It turned up on my first day back at school, and came home from school, and the guitar was there waiting for me, and the little kind of little slim book that told you your first two chords, which were D and A7, a little kind of tortoiseshell plectrum, and a pitch pipe so you could tune it up. There you go. David Evans, yes. Wouldn't panning the rhythm guitars left and right and keep the solo centered help bring out the solo in a mix? That's one way of doing it, mate. Yeah. What I like to do when I'm putting together like the guitar demos and stuff like that is I also like to think in terms of what register I'm in. I will usually be playing like a kind of big shouty solo over some kind of chunky power chord sort of thing. So if we haven't had the usual kind of Blondie shot, have we? Here we go. So if I'm kind of flailing around up here somewhere, I like to make sure that all of the power chordy kind of riffy stuff is down here, and that sort of separation helps as well. And the thing is, the whole kind of thing of panning the lead part to the center, that works, but I like a bit of width on me lead guitar sound as well. So I tend to record it onto 2 tracks, pan both tracks left and right, and usually on the right hand track I'll put like a 25 millisecond delay. My amps making funny noises. I like to put like a 25 millisecond delay on the right hand side, so it gives a big stereo spread, and then I'll double track the rhythm guitar parts as well. So that kind of rhythm guitars lead guitar thing doesn't really kind of work that way for how I do it, but that is one way of doing it. Yeah. Time Profit. The trouble I have with panning rhythm is playing the same thing twice in time. Well, there is a really useful app for that. Not app, VST plugin. It's a free plugin. It's called Voxengo. Voxengo. It's VST3 plugin, so it'll work with Reaper and pretty much any DAW, and it just gives stereo width to any signal that you put it onto. I use it occasionally, and you can tweak it, and there's various different kind of presets you can use. And it's a great little plugin for getting a bit of stereo separation on a mono guitar signal. If you're having problems with kind of double tracking stuff, it works almost like an auto double track. Yeah, David Evans is saying, adding 30 milliseconds, 25, 30, even 35 milliseconds is a good way of doing it. It's anything above that, it tends to add, it again adds a nice effect. That sort of that kind of double tracked sound that you used to get a lot in the 70s, that auto double tracked sound used to get a lot in the 70s. A solo that springs to mind, which has this sound on it, is funnily enough a Gary Moore solo. Who'd have thought I'd have picked a Gary Moore solo as an example? The solo from Thin Lizzy's Sarah, because there's more than one Thin Lizzy song called Sarah, isn't there? The Thin Lizzy aficionados will know that one, but the one from the Black Rose album, which I did a solo analysis on ages ago. That kind of auto double tracked sound on Gary's guitar sound on that's another thing that kind of 30, once you start getting past about 35 milliseconds stereo delay, it tends to give that kind of sound, I found. I'm sure Mr. Hoggett, if he's in the chat still, will probably correct me any mistakes I'm talking about there. Got a little bit of a collaboration coming up with Mr. Hoggett again, Stevie H, in the future. Well, basically, it's going to be a kind of pro amateur mixing kind of video where he shows us the right way to do it, and I show you my kind of amateur bodge job of mixing. Peter Collins is saying, I often play 2 rhythm tracks played slightly differently and pan one to the right and one to the left, very much like the riff in All Right Now. Chris Buck did a fantastic breakdown of that. It's got to be a couple of 3 years ago now, where he did his best, and I think pretty much pulled it off, recreate that All Right Now riff. It's the one that you can never ever quite get right on when you're just trying to play it on a single guitar. You can get close, but it's just one of those things that it just isn't, well, because it's double tracked and it's slightly different. Any anecdotes about trying out for bands back in the day? To be honest, there was only one real disaster that I can think of where I just didn't learn the songs. I thought these are going to be easy. I kind of know these anyway, and then there were like 3 or 4 other guitarists there to kind of go for the same gig as me, and they were all absolutely stellar guitarists, and it knocked me confidence. And I didn't really, because I'd been lazy and hadn't learnt the songs, I made a right pig's breakfast of it, and just didn't do very well and didn't get the gig. But I've always been sort of either the instigator of a band. I've always been the person sort of putting a band together, or I've been well enough prepared that I've just been able to sort of turn up and kind of blag it, and I don't know whether I suspect in a lot of cases with bands that I've auditioned for, I was probably about 19th down the list or something. Oh yeah, well let's ring the fat lad, let's give him a call and see if he'll do it, and never really had any kind of too many humiliating experiences. The only thing I will say is, like, the lie that is often told is like, oh, anyone can sing. I can't sing. I really can't. You get into the band and you turn up for a rehearsal. It's, can we have some backing vocals off you, John? Yes, certainly, I'll say. Next practice, there's never, ever a microphone set up for me. Have you ever kicked someone out of a band? Well, define kicking someone out. I've been in a few bands where, the band splits up and then reforms the next day with a new singer. The band splits up and reforms the next day with a new drummer. That's happened a few times. But, because nobody's, well, I don't want to tell him, oh, I'm going to tell him. It's so that tends to be the sort of cowardly way out that bands I've been in have always taken. There was one guy, and I'm not going to name him, but he is quite a well-known face on the Northeast music circuit, who I was in a band with. And he was an absolutely fantastic, utterly, like, proper pro level, world class rock vocalist, could really deliver the goods. But he was just a lazy arsehole, and he was the epitome of that joke. How does a singer change a light bulb? He just grabs hold of the bulb and waits for the world to revolve around him. And, and he got the sharp end of my tongue after one gig, and then he basically kind of resigned the next day, because I think he could read the room, he could read the writing on the wall and see that he was going to, because he was, it was causing, his attitude was causing all kinds of kind of bad blood within the other members of the band as well. So I think he could read the room, and he decided to jump before he was pushed. John, are you talking about Roger Chapman? No, I'm not. No, the name of the offending singer. Thing is, I've met him several times since then, because like a few like intervening years passed between, and we've got on fine. It's just, he's a great guy. To have a beer with, or to talk to, or to kind of just pass the time of day with, but it's just not somebody you want to work with professionally. Do what Pink Floyd did and never collect Sid for gigs. Yeah, that's one ploy, isn't it? Reelden is saying, I had a pedal steel player leave the band. I said, no big deal, he wasn't that good. Next time I saw him on TV, he played with Jimmy Neal on top of the box crocodile shoes. I've had that as well. I've had that a few times. I mean, this band I was talking about with this singer, who we've just been talking about, you know, the next thing I saw of him, he was in like a big touring, kind of tribute band. Again, I'm not going to name the band, but they were a rock tribute band, and kind of getting international work. Kind of Germany, France, all over Europe, and I'm just thinking, well, you obviously aren't behaving like like the arsehole that you were behaving like with us there, but I don't know. Maybe he got, maybe the paycheck was better. Oh dear me, Chip. I babysat the other day. The mum said I could win the baby. I thought that was a bit cruel, so I just gave it a dead. That's a cruel joke, but funny. While we're doing rubbish jokes, here's one for you. I heard this the other day, and this absolutely kind of cracked me up. It's such a bad joke, but it's it just made me laugh. A bloke goes to the doctors with hearing problems, and the doctor says, "Can you describe the symptoms?" And he said, "Yeah, Homer's fat and Marge's got blue hair. It might take you a moment, but you'll laugh eventually." So what else we got? What about a demo explanation of a Frampton Talkbox, i.e. how it works? I can tell you how it works. Basically, the Michael Purcell, I'll come back to you in a moment on that one, Michael. The Talkbox, you basically disconnect the speaker cable from your amp, and it goes into a little speaker in a soundproof box. The sound comes up a tube, goes into your mouth, and then you shape it with your mouth, and it basically then goes down the vocal mic. Talking about companies doing sponsorship, there was something in the pipeline, but it didn't come through. I began to get suspicious about the motives of the company, and I pulled the plug on it. They were just asking. They were just that something didn't kind of smell right about it, and I don't want to go into too many details, but it felt increasingly. It began to feel like a scam that I was getting caught up in. So there's that. But in other news, and I can't say too much here, I am going to be appearing in a feature film. Indeed. Yes, I got an email from, I can't tell you who, but it's from a representative of a well-known big-time movie director who is, they want to use part of one of my YouTube videos in a feature film, in an upcoming feature film that you can go to the movie theater, the cinema, and watch. It'll get a big time feature film. Essentially, they want to use about 5 seconds of one of my videos that's going to appear on the screen of a laptop that is going to be getting looked at by one of the characters in the movie. And for 5 seconds of an old video from about 4 years ago that I put up, I'm being handsomely rewarded. Let's put it that way. It's for 5 seconds of a video that I made 4 years ago. Yeah. As I say, I can't say too much more now because contracts aren't signed or anything like that. But we've agreed a deal, and I'm just waiting on confirmation coming through. And movie star. This, aye, me and Tom Cruise. Like that. Indeed. So let's see what else we've got in the. Thank you, everyone. I didn't have hair back then. I got rid of the hair back in, I think, 2016. Oscar Robson. Johnny Rattam, cool, John. You can tell us when. Make sure I'll tell you when it happens, mate. Indeed. And will you get to walk down the red carpet on premiere? And I doubt it. Can you imagine this? At a Swiss society do, dear me. It's it just wouldn't happen, really, would it? Anyway, chaps, we're 59 minutes and plus change into the live stream, and I've got a curry to go and sort out downstairs. So I'm going to sup off the rest of me beer and say it's absolutely fantastic to be back into the swing of things. Now the tinsel-infested madness is consigned to history for another year. It's been great. Thank you once again, 194 of you, 200 odd at one point, for turning up and watching a fat bald bloke talk absolute nonsense for an hour or so on a Friday evening. I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me, but till then, time, gentlemen, please.